I mean, your old boss didn't agree on abortion or gay marriage, correct?
He was also a very devout Catholic who went to Mass
who happened to
Sunday.
disagree vehemently with the Pope on abortion and gay marriage.
Let's not conflate Joe Biden's Catholicism with the way Donald Trump talks about religion.
Please like, subscribe, and share. Scott Jennings went on live TV for a heated panel debate on CNN's Kacie Hunt show, doing what he usually does, defending his side strongly. We'll check out some key clips and I'll share my thoughts along the way. Let's dive in.
Why are you fighting with the Pope? And are you worried it's upsetting your...
No, I don't. I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple. I have nothing against the Pope. Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree.
New comments today from President Trump and his ongoing back and forth, shall we say, with Pope Leo. Asked today if he wanted to meet with the pontiff to try and smooth things over, the president said no. And it's not just the Pope or those multiple Jesus memes. Other members of the administration are also invoking religion when discussing the war with Iran.
In the passage, Jesus entered a synagogue and healed a man with a withered hand. The Pharisees came to watch, but their hearts were hardened. They were only there to explain away the goodness in pursuit of their agenda. I sat there in church and I thought, our press are just like these Pharisees.
The president is heading west. He is starting a swing through Nevada and Arizona, his first visit to a swing state in more than a month, while his party feels new headwinds, especially on the economy.
How much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas prices?
Well, they're not very high. If you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon with the danger that entails. So the gas prices have come down very much over the last 3-4 days.
He is right, sort of. The average cost of gas has dropped about 7 cents over the past week. You know, you decide how much that matters in your wallet when you compare to where it is since the start of the war with Iran, which is up more than $1. The timing of today's campaign stop, no coincidence. The headlines basically all in sync, all citing new and growing fears, anxiety, concern, unease among Republicans and inside the White House that some of the president's recent, shall we say, distractions are becoming more than that. But even if everything could fall apart for Republicans in the midterms, as one GOP aide tells CNN, the president, of course, can still bank on considerable fervent support.
I believe that Donald Trump is better than sliced bread. I think he's almost a second coming, in my humble opinion.
Okay, my panel's here in the arena, the editor of The Dispatch and CNN political commentator Jonah Goldberg, the co-host of the interview podcast from the New York Times, CNN contributor Lulu Garcia-Navarro, former communications director in the Biden White House, Kate Bedingfield, former special assistant to President George W. Bush, Scott Jennings, of course, now both CNN political commentators. Welcome to all of you. Where to start? There's almost an embarrassment of riches. Jonah Goldberg, would you like to select from the pantheon of things that we have lined up from this president today?
I don't know. I mean, it's difficult. It's like drinking from a fire hose. I think that the religion stuff is a real dead end politically for these guys, because I don't think I think it turns off more people than it activates, the way they're talking about it. As a general rule, not getting into a fight with the Pope is just a good idea. J.D. Vance saying maybe...
Who doesn't want to meet the Pope?
Right.
Yeah.
Especially the American Pope.
That struck me as such an odd, I didn't mean to interrupt Jonah, but that struck me as such an odd response. I mean, why wouldn't the President of the United States want to meet with the Pope just as a global leader who has influence over, a billion plus people around the world? All right, I'm sorry. Weak on crime and terrible on foreign policy. My fault.
You mentioned, Jonah, how this administration talked about religion. And I want to play something that Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, I mean, you heard him talk about, comparing the media, which, let's note the press, freedom of the press is enshrined in the Constitution. For those of you who aren't as familiar, or who may not be familiar with the Pharisees, right? He's essentially saying that the press betrays the country, right? The Pharisees betraying Jesus Christ. It's a pretty significant statement he was making there. But I want to draw your attention to something that played out actually at a prayer service at the Pentagon, which is something that the defense secretary is now doing. He offered what he pointed to as a prayer. One, this drew attention online. You could figure out where the prayer actually originated. We want to kind of play for you what was pointed out as far as whether, did this come from the Bible or did it come from Hollywood? Watch.
They call it Caesar 25:17, which I think is meant to reflect Ezekiel 25:17.
Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance.
Please like, subscribe, and share. I've got to pause for a second. What kind of timeline are we even living in? Sometimes it feels unreal. Is Pete Hegseth really one of the least serious defense secretaries in modern history? The guy's out here quoting Pulp Fiction, and honestly, it doesn't even seem intentional. It feels like we're watching a government run by grown men acting like middle schoolers. I've heard it said that Donald Trump comes across like an adolescent leader surrounded by people who match that same energy. And it's hard not to see that sometimes. Just imagine if leadership like that had been in charge during something like World War II. It really makes you wonder how different things could have turned out.
Furious anger, those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Scott Jennings, who gets the Oscar? Pete Hegseth or Samuel L. Jackson?
Well, if something's been written in such a dramatic fashion, why rewrite it? Why reinvent the wheel? I can't speak to any of this. Don't write any of the speeches, and not involved in the planning of these events. My view is not uncommon for U.S. presidents to appeal to the heavens for the success of the U.S. military. George Washington knelt in the snow at Valley Forge and asked God to help us win the Revolutionary War, after all. So that is not an uncommon thing.
Humility was the thing that defined that.
That is not, but it's not uncommon.
Did humility define this, do you think?
I don't know, Kacie. Look, I mean, it is not uncommon for the United States political leadership to appeal to the heavens for victories for the United States of America. I mean, our last president, Joe Biden, often cited his own Catholicism to justify certain decisions that he made. So this is not an uncommon thing. My personal view is, as a communications matter, what I want to hear from the Secretary of War: how many ships are we sinking? How many missiles are we destroying? How much of the enemy are we, defeating in our military targets, and so on and so forth. So, to me, I think as Americans look at the overall project here, they want to know: are we winning militarily, and are we getting close to meeting our goal of keeping these people, these fanatics, from getting a nuclear weapon? That's basically the information that I think needs to be communicated.
And what would you say about the productivity of picking a fight with the first American Pope?
I agreed with what the president said today. He's welcome to his statements, and he says...
Of course Scott Jennings agrees with what the president has to say. Has there ever been a time where Scott Jennings didn't agree with what Donald Trump had to say?
He's more than welcome to do that, and the president's more than welcome to disagree. The Pope has a job to do in his role as Pope. The president has a job to do in his role as the president. And he has said, we're not going to let Iran get a nuclear weapon. And frankly, my understanding is the Pope doesn't believe in nuclear weapons either. So he should look at this as an opportunity to say, hey, we're all in alignment on at least this one goal. Let's keep these fanatics that hate Western civilization from getting a nuclear weapon.
Can we just backpedal here, though, just a little as to how this all started? This all started because the President of the United States went on social media Easter Sunday and the day after, basically saying that he was going to destroy the civilization of Iran. And that prompted backlash because people not only saw it as war crimes, but immoral. And so the debate started with actions that the president took and not really about whether or not Iran should have nuclear weapons. This is really about what this president has said he will do to the people of Iran in order to get that outcome. And I think that is what has brought in the Pope.
You're living several days ago. Where do we stand today? We have a ceasefire.
Sorry. I'm so sorry to give context.
We have a ceasefire. Right. We have a blockade that's working. Basically, no bombs are falling right now. And we're on the brink, hopefully, of a diplomatic solution that will take away nuclear material from these fanatics and make the region and the world a safer place. Is this not an acceptable outcome?
If this happens, I think everyone will be absolutely thrilled.
But you'll still be arguing about the memes and the tweets?
No. I think the context was we were talking about religion. And so therefore, and the fight with the Pope. And so therefore I was giving the context of how this all started. It's not...
It's okay to cheer for a good outcome. It's okay to cheer for a good outcome.
Nothing starts, 2 minutes ago. This has context. I was giving it. I didn't.
But also, why can't Donald Trump say some version of what you just said? Why is Donald Trump's sort of egotistical, frankly sacrilegious response to criticism from the Pope, which, by the way, is consistent historically, at least in terms of modern popes. It is historically consistent that popes, John Paul II was very involved in pushing back the Soviet Union from Poland. You had Pope who came to the White House to talk to LBJ about ending the war in Vietnam. There is historical consistency with the Pope making a statement of morality when it comes to issues of war and peace. Donald Trump is the difference here. Donald Trump's reaction is the difference here.
But you would agree it's not uncommon for presidents of the United States to disagree with popes, right?
Sure.
I mean, your old boss didn't agree on abortion or gay marriage, correct?
He was also a very devout Catholic who went to Mass
who happened to disagree vehemently with the Pope on abortion and gay marriage.
Let's not conflate Joe Biden's Catholicism with the way Donald Trump talks about religion.
Well, he's off the theology on abortion and gay marriage.
All right, pause.
Please like, subscribe, and share. Scott Jennings always throws in a "what about Biden" line. It's predictable at this point. And when he says something from a few days ago is ancient history, that really tells you everything. There's this constant push to move on quickly and ignore anything inconvenient. I've heard on the professional left that remembering things is almost like a superpower, because some commentators would rather everyone forget yesterday's headlines. That pattern shows up again and again on shows hosted by Kacie Hunt and Abby Phillip. Then there's the claim about the Pope and nuclear weapons. Pope Francis has consistently opposed nuclear weapons across the board, not just for one country. But that nuance often gets lost in these debates. At the end of the day, the bigger question had disagreements, like Jonah Goldberg pointed out, but they didn't turn them into public spectacles. Is even picking a public fight with Donald Trump could have simply acknowledged a difference of opinion and moved on. But that's not usually how it plays out. And that's where commentators like Jennings come in, defending the president no matter what. Meanwhile, you can almost see the frustration from hosts like Hunt, who seem to recognize how absurd some of these moments are. What do you think? Do you agree with Jennings, or does it feel like more of the same? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe.